Okay, so today we're going to talk about taking practice and moving it into playing. And these things are not mutually exclusive of each other, because when you're playing, you could be practicing different techniques and things like that. And when you're practicing, you could be playing, right? And the one thing we want to try to get away from is, especially when we're practicing, is kind of practicing without a purpose. That doesn't mean you can't noodle around and have fun, but we want to try to get away from practicing without a purpose. So I got a click track queued up, and this is 75 BPM. And in one of my recent videos, I made a really big mistake. I counted wrong. So if you listen to this, it's 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I broke it into halves, I'm bad about music theory and teaching with metronomes and things like that, but I'm working on it, I promise. So halves would be like 1, so 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. So if we think about a scale, right, and then I could break it into 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Like that. This is B flat harmonic minor, by the way. So even if I came up with a lick, like maybe I was doing some Paul Gilberty stuff. Something like that. And I was doing that to this, right? You know, making sure I'm tightening, you know, staying locked in with it. 1 and 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I'm going too fast sometimes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? That, like that. So that Paul Gilbert lick. Something like that, right? I may not be fully locked in, but let's take it to a song. And I want you to hear the difference. So I'm gonna turn the metronome off here, and I'm gonna go to a song, and I'm gonna try to play. Now I think the metronome and the song are in a slightly different BPM, but here's the song. I know it's like around 80 or 90 BPM. It's still slow, but I could do the same thing, right? And I could play it like a scale. Start on the next measure. And it sounds like a scale. But if I listen to the beat, which is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go ahead and take and add some emotion, some you know, something more interesting, some spice to it, right? It's going to sound different. Same lick, right? A little bit different, right? Didn't sound as much like a scale. And that's kind of what I'm going for. I'm trying to feel music versus practicing to a metronome. There's a little bit of difference to that. So when you have a backing track on, or you have a song on, or you're playing with a band, which is actually a little bit different, right? Because a band may not even be locked into a click. They may just kind of be improvising and grooving. But when you're playing to anything, like that's not just a click, you got to think in terms of, you know, do I want to just play that riff straight, or do I want to add a little bit of flavor to it, right? And those two things may not sound a whole lot different to your ear right now. And maybe I'm not even doing it justice. But the idea there is I'm changing just a few subtle dynamics in the way that I'm playing. Instead of just playing it straight, I'm kind of thinking about, you know, shifting the palm muting a little bit. I'm thinking about how my fingers are landing a little bit. I'm thinking about just some things that With a click, you may not be thinking about like that. Instead of thinking, I'm thinking, right? Just a little tightening up in that part right there. To me, to my ears, it sounds like it's, you know, what do you call it? Not cascading. Cascading is going backwards, but it's evolving to the next part. Like it's building, and it's not building speed. It's not building anything other than just sounding like it's building up to something. And that's what I wanted to do over the song. I wanted to build up to something rather than just sounding like the next note in the scale. And something you got to do, and something you got to think about, is that things can be slow and still create tension. Things can be slow and still create that, you know, build up to that crescendo. You know, we could take something like this, which just sounds like a scale. And we could turn it into just by changing the way I palm mute a little bit, changing just kind of the feel of it, the way I pick a little bit. There's just a little, like again, subtlety. It's just subtle. Listen to it over the song. So again, the difference between the backing track, not the backing track, but the difference between just playing that scale and playing it kind of as a, I guess the best way to say it is kind of as a lead, right? As the lead to the song. Here's just the scale. And here's, it is a lead, right? And one thing that I did there, and it may have been, you know, it may have been hard to hear, but I'm listening to the beat and I'm thinking when I get to this part, like there's a drum beat there. There's a drum beat there. You know, there's a drum beat there. There's a beat. There's something there. There's something present that I'm matching with the guitar. You know, really, you know, fast metal players do a lot of that. They'll have, you know, a lick that, you know, and then they got da 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 da, right? That drum beat is playing over that with it perfectly, and I think that's kind of interesting. And I've never really played with that. I like, you know, groovy metal, but that's kind of something that you might kind of think about it as. It's in that same kind of wheelhouse, like thinking about the drums matching the guitar, locking it in. Okay, so I'm gonna put the metronome back on, and I want you to hear some things that you could do just in your regular practice that might make a little bit of a difference. One thing we could do, even if we're just playing this in just, you know, regular quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of thinking like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I'm gonna play this scale, right? Again, this is 6, 8, 9, 5th string, 6, 8, 9, and then when we get to the 4th string, we're playing 7, 8, 10. 3rd string, 6, 8, 10. 2nd string is going to be 7, 10, 11, and the 1st string is going to be 9, or 8, 9, 11. So instead of thinking about this in quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just up and down the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, right? Like that. Instead of thinking about it like that, think about it in grooves. Think about it in little groupings and just grooving, right? Right? Something like that. So we're thinking about like, okay, sometimes I'm going to play in that quarter note. Sometimes I'm going to change it to half note. Sometimes I might even speed it up a little bit. And those speed bursts might be helpful for your speed, right? You know, something along those lines. Just thinking about different ways to express yourself. But even within the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we could do. and just change it around a little bit. And listening to the metronome and then playing, you know, a little bit outside and a little bit inside the metronome and playing around with it, you're thinking more like, okay, what would the groove of the song be? What would the drummer be doing? What would the other parts be doing in the song? Maybe we can go ahead and stop and have some vibrato. You know, something like that. I hit the wrong note, but something like that. And when you're playing to a metronome, and one thing I'm going to have to say right now is I, and this goes along with what I just said, like I don't play to a metronome to a click too often. I like to play to a click when I'm trying to build speed or to think about a lick and say, okay, I need to get faster with this lick. So let's go ahead and take a metronome, slow it down, and build up and build up and build up. I usually make it go up like 10 BPM at a time, and then I'll sit there and I practice, come back to the next day, do the same thing, the next day do the same thing. A lot of times I might do something like this, like slow it down. And I don't see that as musical. I'm thinking to myself that that's more just for practice, to get my hand synchronization together, to get my my picking tighter, things like that. I'm not thinking about it musically, because when I get to a song, you know, I might not be thinking about, I might just be thinking about, you know, still playing the scale, but thinking about it in a more musical way. You know, the same thing with that harmonic minor lick. Yeah. You know, thinking about it like that. You know, throwing in pinch harmonics, vibrato, tapping, sweeping, just all kinds of cool stuff, just to make it sound, you know, more musical and not just like as an exercise. The exercises are important, but even with the metronome, you can come outside the metronome a little bit and play with feel and groove. So when you're playing to a song, when you're playing to a click track, yeah, you do got to think about that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you got to think about, subdividing it in different ways. Like you might be thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or you might be thinking about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like that's something you could think about. And it depends on your purpose. It depends on what you want to do. Like I like to freestyle a lot, and I don't really think about this as the same thing as noodling. I like to do stuff like that a lot. And I know that I'm in the scale and I'm locked in and I can feel the beat of the song, and I like to bring it back to that to make sure that I'm locking in with the song, but I'm not necessarily locking in with every single beat. I'm not really locking in with every 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not doing that. That can make your playing tighter. It can. It's something I might experiment with in the future. But you don't have to if your purpose is just kind of groovy and just kind of solo and to play, kind of, it's kind of airy and it kind of sounds ethereal and stuff like that. Like if that's what you're going for, I think of like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and guys like that. If that's what you're going for, then locking it in tightly to the groove may not sound as good as you want it to, and that might not be your purpose. So think about what you want to do when you're practicing with the metronome. Think about what your purpose is. Think about what your goal is. Again, practice with purpose. In a previous lesson, I talked about vibrato, and I talked about how you can kind of hang on a note, raise it up to the next note, raise it up to the next note in the scale, things like that. And you could do the same thing with metronome practice, or if you're playing over a backing track. You can kind of hang on a part, even within a scale. And hanging on that part can create a lot of emotion, a lot of interesting tension, and then you can always resolve it back later. And I think that's pretty interesting. And if you're playing with metronome practice, you're going to be way outside of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is perfectly okay. But that's why at the beginning of this lesson, when I was just running the scale, it just, it sounds like a scale, no matter what you do to it. It It just sounds like a scale. You start adding in the expression, stuff like that. And change up your timing a little bit, and all of a sudden it starts sounding more musical. You can play the exact same thing, but make it sound less like practice and more like, something that is intentional. And pick songs with slow BPMs. Pick songs that are going to allow you to so you got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then you speed it up, like you double it up, right? Then you slow it down again. And then you add all kinds of little tricks in there, little nuances in there. Again, put your personality into it. Take what's in your brain and stick it in that song. And then slowly, the metronome practice becomes something that translates, it generalizes into the song, which makes it sound like you really know what you're doing. When you're in a song, listen, to the spots. Let me put on a backing track real quick. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you're taking a song, like this one, and then we're hearing da, 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 do, 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 do. See how I broke it into chunks? That's what I want you to think of. Even if you're practicing with a metronome, I want you to think about breaking things into chunks. Break it into small little parts. And, that do, 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 do. Maybe the first do, do. Then the next do, do. And then let it breathe for 2 do, do's, right? And then let it breathe. Let it breathe over a couple of parts, like a half a measure or something like that. And that starts to lock you into the drum beat, which allows you to say, okay, I need to stop here, but I need to start here. I got a starting point coming up. I can hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? On that 4, right? Now, I mentioned in a previous part of this video where I was talking about, hey, when you're playing with others, everything starts to change a lot. If your drummer does not play to a click and your drummer has a really unique style, or maybe they don't know what they're doing and they can't keep good time, then what happens is everything kind of changes. And you might have to jump into, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All of a sudden you're into a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Next thing you know, you're into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You're into a swing style. Whatever your drummer's doing, whatever your bass player's doing, they're the heart of the band. They are the heart of the band, and you got to listen to what they're doing and you kind of lock into it. So if you're bent on playing, you're bent on playing that, but you got to play it differently. Well, let me try that again. See, I got to slow down, right? The drummers change things up. Okay, now I got to change it up again because he's changed up again. Something like that. Oh, and by the way, speed exposes mistakes. So, you get locked into what the drummer's doing, but then the drummer starts changing things up, or the bass player starts changing things up, or there's the groove changes, or the time just isn't good, right? Because it could be that, right? Then you got to be able to listen for that. And you may not come in right on the beat, but you want to kind of play around with that. And of course, that's what band practice is for, to be able to hear that repetition over and over and over again. Because even if the drummer's making a mistake, they may make that same mistake each time, and you're looking for that mistake, and then it sounds more like it's intentional because everybody's locked into whatever that mistake is. And that's something that's interesting about live music. And you'll find that no matter who you play with, or whoever you play with, you're going to find different nuances with everyone, which is why playing live and playing with other people is, really something I highly recommend. You just got to be a nice guy, and you got to be easygoing about it, because everyone, is feeling that same thing, right? We're all thinking the same things, but that's okay. It makes the band experience very interesting. When you're playing, and you're playing, by yourself, or you're playing just to a click track, or even to a song that you wrote, or a backing track that somebody else made, but you're not in a live setting, you're not playing with somebody else, or it's nobody else's ears are hearing. You're just doing it with yourself, right? Then it's easy to fall into traps of bending wrong, or playing the wrong groove, or playing out of time. And what you want to do is really, you really want to focus on locking in to whatever that is. So if your goal is to play, to a song, and when there's a beat coming up, there's something coming up, where when you get to that part, you want to be there. You gotta play around with that. You gotta play around with that idea, and you gotta get it locked in, because that kind of practice is really going to help you get there. Yeah, I used to train in some martial arts, and one thing they talked about was body mechanics, moving and everything like that. And they said that if you can walk up to a doorknob and put your foot down and grab that doorknob right at the same time, that's kind of allowing you to move everything at the same time, when you go in for a counterattack or whatever. I'm not trying to teach martial arts, but I think the principle is the same. It's just like with hand synchronization and locking in your playing. I know I want to be here, and if I'm late to that, or if I'm too early to that, then it doesn't sound good. So you want to lock it in, and that kind of thing just kind of makes me think of that martial arts technique. It's kind of similar. So if you like this kind of lesson, and you want me to teach more of this kind of stuff, then go check out my page at justpickuptheguitarango.com. I'll see you in the next one.